Welcome, everyone, to a special Wednesday edition of the MMA Vivisection with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, Eddie Mercado and Victor Rodriguez. We are here this week to talk about PFL, Professional Fighters League 2018, Season 1, regular season opener, fight card starting tomorrow, Thursday, in New York City, New York, which means probably some regulatory shenanigans. It's the last minute. We'll be cropping up. But
typical in NYSAC. NYSAC? Is it NYSAC? NYSAC.
Nice. There you go.
It's right on the table, and I'm not gonna let you keep it. No, that's fine.
Vic may be having some connection issues. Hopefully those get ironed out as the show goes on. And yeah, this is the first tournament event of the newly rebranded World Series of Fighting, which has benefited large amounts from Bellator's recent roster purges, as they've looked to get rid of some of their classic vets that they didn't want anymore. So, you know, you got Marcos Galvao on this thing, and I feel like there was somebody else. Maybe it's just Galvao. Is it just Galvao?
I think it's just Galvao.
From Bellator, yeah. I mean, Malagari fought in Bellator as well.
Yeah. Malagari fought in Bellator too. And I think this is just the featherweight and heavyweight tournament opening rounds. So I think they picked up a couple other Bellator vets. Oh, yeah, that's right. The UFC cut Will Brooks. So what am I talking about? Anyway, it's also got UFC vet Francis Barros on it, and Alex Nicholson, of all people, Jared Rosholt,
Sean Jordan. Is he still on this?
Jordan?
Jordan, I believe. I don't know if he did. The weigh-ins were earlier today. He missed the heavyweight limit. Yes, the heavyweight limit by 9 pounds.
He clocked in at 275.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work, dude. I don't know if he's
was already
seems like he's still.
He must come in looking like Krang from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh God! Wow. Damn, that's a good reference. But the thing is that someone noted on Twitter, and I can't remember now, and I feel bad now that I can't remember. But you're walking around at 270 plus. I got to worry how that weight's distributed and what you're going to look like. I don't know. This whole thing is really it don't sound good.
They've also picked up, they've got, I guess this is a headlining, but I don't even know if this card really has a headliner. It doesn't really seem to be organized like there's a headliner. But the main event, the last fight on the card is Andre Harrison taking on Jumabek Tuarshin, who you might remember from a brief UFC stint in which he went 0-3 before returning to the Chinese regional scene, where he's had mixed results. He's, in fact, coming off a loss heading into this bout. So
there's a couple fights on here that I'm like, why was this even booked? But
like Alexandra de Almeida versus Coville.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Why the hell?
Let's start at the bottom, because this is a big card. Every fight has somebody that we recognize in it, so I think we're just going to run through the whole thing. And the heavyweight opening bout, Jake Hune versus Alex Nicholson. Vic, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, good God. Are we really fucking? Like, come on, man. Nicholson's coming up to heavyweight, and after that performance he had at the Cam Soda event, like, no, sorry. Nope.
So, Jake Hune? No?
Vic?
Did we lose him? Eddie, take over. We've lost Vic.
Vic has lost himself, I think.
Okay. I have, yes.
Vic, who are you picking?
I'm going with Jake Hune all day. Come on. You saw that Cam Soda fight with Alex Nicholson. Come on. No, absolutely not. Hune.
All right. So they shifted this fight all around. Jake Hune was supposed to fight someone else, and Alex Nicholson was supposed to fight
Kyle Alencar.
There you go. And Alex Nicholson was fighting Kelvin Tiller.
Yep.
I'm kind of glad this got shifted around. I think this is a very exciting fight, and it's gonna look like a bar fight. this is going to look like a straight up bar fight. Like not like a college keg party fight. This is going to be a bar fight. Alex Nicholson actually does really well when he fights at heavyweight. He's actually undefeated at heavyweight, I think. So he's just one of those dudes. I think it's just because he likes to strike. So when he fights bigger, he's faster than everyone else. So it kind of works out for him. So, but Jay Kuhn's a 205er who's fighting up. So and he looks really swift and nimble on his feet. I've seen him working out recently. Spends hella time over in Thailand training his kickboxing with Tiger Muay Thai. I like Jay Kuhn. He's my dude. I'm not going to pick against him. So I got Jay Kuhn by exciting, barn-burning split decision.
Oh, and I should mention before we go further, for some reason, I have no idea why, there are no odds out for this card. We got odds for KSW 44. We got odds for the UFC event. PFL, bunch of vets, matchups, people everybody knows or hardcore fans know. No odds at all, so I'm not sure why that is, but we're gonna have to be going oddsless on this. Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough fight for me to pick too. Just throw my 2 cents in. Both guys, if you just watch them like working out or in moments in fights, are really, really obviously very athletic. And neither guy seems to. Hune has a nice technical striking game in moments, and then it's like just everything falls apart if he has to do anything other than strike with somebody. And Nicholson is just totally structureless, wild brawling. So
this ought to be fun.
It should be a fun fight. Should make for a fun fight, especially because both guys have been knocked out before. So it's not like one of them is way more durable than the other. I'd probably go Hune just because he's the more natural big man, but that's about it.
Should be fun.
All right, that takes us to our second heavyweight bout. Francimar Barros versus Daniel Gallimore. And Eddie, what are your thoughts on this?
Barros always bored the shit out of me. So I'm not excited.
You and everybody else.
I'm not excited to see him fight, to be honest. Gallimore, he's like this big, plotting, sloppy, stand-up having, got KO'd by Mike Kyle kind of fighter who as much as I don't like Barros, he's at least reserved enough to not just get slept by something stupid. And he hits hard enough to do some damage. So Barros getting finished would be surprising. Not all that surprising if Gallimore gets finished here. So Barros wins, but he's probably born enough to take this the distance. But I'm taking Barros.
Vic, who are you picking?
Vic from the ether. Nope.
No. Yeah, Vic. Okay.
How do I sound? That's not that. Am I coming through okay through the wormhole? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I agree with Eddie that Barros has always been just god awful to watch, and Gallimore is not exactly someone who physically is going to be able to impose his kind of game, or at least do the sort of thing that would get Barros in trouble. And it seems to me also the veteran edge is going to have to go to Barros. So the thing that they're on bet on this one especially. It's just going to be ugly either way. So I'm going to go Francimar.
All right. Yeah, I'd have to pick Barros too. He may not be a fun fighter to watch, but you kind of unless you if you can't compete with him athletically, at least he's going to win most of the time. We've seen him. Yeah. We've seen him win enough UFC fights that it's just He hits hard enough. He's big enough. He's strong enough. He's tough enough. But he's so boring.
He's painfully boring. He's in that category with man, the list goes on. Yushin Okami, John Fitch.
Yeah.
Who's that middleweight that's still top 15? Damn it.
You don't mean Carmon, obviously, but he was up there.
Nah, he's a UFC cat. That's just god awfully boring.
Whatever. Let's move on. Yeah. Josh Copeland, Jack May. Vic, who are you picking?
I can really easily see Copeland just grabbing a hold of dude here and just
hold on,
blanketing
Vic.
him.
It's Brad Tavares. Brad Tavares is who. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that checks out, except for his last performance. But yeah, no point taken. Clock. But yeah, back to the Copeland thing, man. I just Jesus Christ. I mean, May can strike, and he's got a pretty decent game off his back. It's okay. It's not like anything exceptional, especially not at heavyweight where guys aren't really known for having very slick guard games. But it's a little better than average. But everything else, it's like Copeland is one of those guys, much like Jared Rusholt. You know, it's just going to be able to grab a hold of you and wear you down. And it's, again, not going to be pretty. A lot of sloppy heavyweight kickboxing and some clinches and just sweating and heaving. And yeah, so I'm going to go with Copeland on this too.
All right. Eddie?
Copeland's tough as nails. May is not as durable. We've seen him get finished early in fights, and that alone is enough to pick Copeland for me. So Copeland's going to be too tough for Jack May, too durable. And I mean, I've seen Copeland go the distance with Blagoy Ivanov in insane war. So I know he can dish it out. He can take it in. He can, he can fight through being all bloodied up and all that. May I've seen fold. So I got Copeland by decision.
Yeah, Copeland doesn't do anything that well, but he's been kind of a big, tough brute for a long time. May seems like yeah, he's an okay kickboxer, but he's also 37 at this point and been knocked out a few times, and definitely have to. Oh, he does. Definitely have to go with Copeland there too. All right, that brings us to another heavyweight bout: Jared Rosholt, Valdrin Istrefi. And Eddie, who are you taking?
Say that again for me. How do you pronounce that?
Valdrin Istrefi? I don't know. He's
Valdrin Istrefi. All right, so Rosholt, he got knocked out by Kyle Alencar after leaving the UFC, and then he won a decision over Nick Rossborough. Probably should have gotten to the finish in that fight, but Rosholt, he just really isn't a killer, doesn't have that killer instinct. And Rossborough is actually pretty tough. It's no secret what Rosholt's coming to do. He's going to come out trying to grapple you, trying to get the takedown, trying to lay on top of you, maybe land some ground strikes here and there, might throw a punch on the feet or two. But that's really about it. Istrefi, 12-1, but hasn't really fought anyone with a good record. Maybe one guy, but still. It's his first fight in the UFC. I mean, in the USA, not in the UFC. That's never going to happen. First fight in the USA.
Wow. The disrespect.
What?
Wow.
Why is it disrespect?
I mean, shit. Okay, fine.
Is he on your prospect list? You know what I'm saying? Like, is this... Did Bellator come in and pull the rug out from under the UFC with this one? I don't think so. I mean, the dude's willing to throw combos, and he finishes with kicks, which I like. A little herky-jerky out there, not exactly the smoothest customer on the feet. He'll get the takedown and work from the top position with his ground strikes, but, he'll have to hurt Rosholt and drop him if he ever hopes to get the top position here. So I have to take the more experienced fighter, Rosholt by decision. I'm picking a lot of decisions, and I don't like that.
Yeah, especially not at heavyweight.
Yeah,
it's not your fault, dude. It's look at the matchups. Unfortunately, this is what it's going to be, and guys are going to be fighting for a major pot. So they're going to try to minimize their damage, and no one's going to go out there and try to get too crazy. And they have this point system, like if you get a finish, and if it's like an early finish, like let's say you get like a first round knockout, it's like 1 point plus 2, so you get like 6 points for a first round knockout or something like that.
Well, hold on, real quick. That's a good point. What is the format of this, Vic? Like, what's the structure here? Because this card is all heavyweights and it's all featherweights, right?
Yeah, this one in particular is, but the next one won't be. Like each one, will have different.
They're going to do different divisions because it's a tournament, right? So it's
right. So everyone's going to be on the same page. You're not going to have a guy at featherweight fighting now and then another one at next month's event, and then have the uneven timeline in case of any sort of injury.
Regular season. That's right. You get points, and then there's a tournament at the end of the season. That's what we're doing.
I have no fucking clue what's going on with the point system.
So the regular season. I can tell you. it's, you know, they have, this is the first event of the regular season. The regular season will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 events long, and then they have 4 playoff events culminating in the championship to end the year.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
rank,
Listen, adding that soccer element of, like, you know, how many points you get, regardless of how you, you know, it's not just the winning and losing thing. I don't know how that's going to pay off, man. This is a major, major gamble.
it is a little interesting to see that they do, like, the next one is all light heavyweight and lightweight.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you are putting all these weight divisions on the same cards, like, over the regular season, how does that break down for getting people, you know, like, what if somebody gets injured after their first fight and they can't fight again for the rest of the year? What happens to their points? What are they, you know, I don't know.
They'll have to arm wrestle somebody for their points.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll find out as we go. But that's the format we're working with here. So
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Vic. I'm still in the dark about this. I don't feel like they're doing a good job about explaining it.
Vic, what do you think?
I don't even know if it was my turn, but whatever. Yeah, Jared Rochelle, whatever.
What about
what the fuck? Like, yeah, this is the same. The last 2 fights and this one are, like, basically very similar in that respect, right? You have a guy who's less athletic than the other and who's able to smother him and who's able to, like, you know, unless this gentleman here, Estrefi, is able to really put on some serious volume and sort of keep him at arm's length, I don't really see that happening. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Rochelle.
Yeah, well, and, you know, anytime you've got a guy who's who's like getting his first fight against a grinding American wrestler, you can pretty much always pick the grinding American wrestler.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to Mike Kyle versus Sean Jordan, maybe?
Oh, God.
Is Jordan actually fighting after missing weight by 9 pounds, 7 pounds?
I don't fucking know. You know, okay, I think we need to address the this whole thing. All right, so we talked about how Jordan is over by 9 pounds. I guess he's still going to be allowed. I mean, until, as far as we know now, the day prior to the event, he is still on the card. I don't know. I mean, the reason that the first fight got reshuffled is that there can't be more than a 25-pound differential at heavyweight between one fighter and the other. So, yeah, that's kind of why that went down. So this is, again, just more New York State shenanigans. I'm not sure this is even going to take place. If so, you kind of have to wonder what led Sean Jordan to come in that far over the heavyweight limit.
My guess would be,
was he injured?
I would guess food, but that's just me.
Yeah, that's another one too, yeah. But then it's like Mike Kyle. I can't really trust Mike Kyle, even though he sometimes can be a very terrifying individual in some of his fights. But
so
I'm going to...
noted, oh, wait. We've got, is this... Yeah, okay. We need to stop a moment and step back, because I'm seeing now a totally different card being pushed out here.
Are you on Tapology? Because that's where I'm looking.
No, I'm looking at the MMA Fighting News Wire story released 30 seconds ago.
Oh, okay.
We are all over the place in terms of this card. So, turns out, Rochelle Estrefi stands, Copeland May stands, Nicholson Hune stands. The order for this is all the fuck over the place.
Bahos Gallimore still on?
Bahos Gallimore still stands. Is that all the fights we've talked about so far?
Yeah. So we're good.
Okay, so good for that.
Just Kyle and Jordan.
Kyle and Jordan are not going to be fighting, it appears, but Alan Carr and Tiller are, which were not listed on Tapology.
So that's Hune and Nicholson's former opponents.
Yeah.
They're fighting each other now.
So
I got Alan Carr in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just so big and just dangerous. Like, I got him.
Yeah,
for sure.
same here. The guy, he's got a bunch of wild finishes, and he's good, man. He's surprisingly strong with his hits.
All right. So both picking Alan Carr there. I'm gonna go by the MMA fighting sports card. So the card so far in MMA fighting, we're just gonna work up from the bottom, and we'll just skip over the stuff we've already talked about because the Tapology card at this point is pretty clearly not right. And I just
which is not Tapology's fault. It's definitely the PFL shit show.
Yeah. So they've got Francois Barbeau's Daniel Gallimore going first, and then Alexandre Almeida versus Lee Colville. And Vic, do you need more than 30 seconds to break this one down?
Not really. Colville is a fighter who's got a few finishes, but he's only 4-1 as a pro, whereas Almeida has had some very, very serious experience. And he's a wily cat, so I'm going to go with Almeida on this one.
Yeah, Eddie.
18-7 versus 4-1. Former champ versus relative nobody. Granted, Colville's first fight was in the year 2000, but his next fight wasn't until 7 years later.
And Colville's opponents listed on Tapology 0-0, 0-0, 0-2, and see Rob Bunford. 3-11 overall, was 1-0 when he fought Colville.
And so, you have to look at this and say, is Almeida beating Colville worth the same amount of points as Galval over Malagari?
Yeah.
Or Palmer over
depending on how he wins, but yeah. The level of opposition is not relevant. It's how you win.
Well, yeah, which is bullshit because
that's what I'm saying, though.
Alexandre beating Colville is almost a surefire. He should want this dude,
right?
And Malagari Galval, that's a tight fight,
Yeah. Somebody's taking the long road here. Yeah,
that's what I mean. So how are they? The points just seem to not add up. It works in NASCAR where every car is pretty much the fucking same.
Yeah,
but in fighting, it's man.
Yeah. Welcome to PFL, kids.
All right. So next bout up on the card, apparently, Magomed Idrisov, Steven Seiler, and Eddie. Who you taking?
I am probably taking Idrisov here. He is only 8-1, but he does have a lot of M1 experience. He throws with heat. And is a little wild with his little T-Rex arms, but he has pretty good timing, and he is about that life. Seiler, a tough vet, 29-17, coming off back-to-back losses, notorious for leaving his chin up there to be hit, even though he is tough. Idrisov doesn't have a neck, so I don't think he's getting submitted here. I got Idrisov by decision.
All right. Vic?
Yeah, man. I was going to go with Seiler on this earlier.
Did I sway you, Vic? Did I sway you with that in-depth analysis? Oh, I've made him freeze. Damn it, my bad.
God damn it.
I had it for about, I don't know, a couple of minutes, and I realized, yeah, you know what? Seiler, against...
Maybe it's Connor calling in from Remulac.
Yeah, god damn it. My kingdom for an internet connection. All right.
Oh, no.
You back?
I don't know. Am I?
Make it fast. We can hear you. Just
Idrisov all day. Yay.
All right. Yeah, I mean, Idrisov beating Herbert Burns. That's legit. Ivan Buchinger. Those are legit wins. Seiler tends to be when he's physically outclassed, he's losing. He goes out back to the regionals and he'll put together a big string of wins over dudes you've never heard of. And then he comes back and fights somebody like Andre Harrison or Hakeem Dawadu or Lance Palmer or Des Green, and he gets blown out. So I definitely would have to go with Idrisov as well. All right. Next up, we've already talked about Alan Carr, Tiller very briefly, both picking Alan Carr. Now Galval versus Malagari. And Vic, can you keep your internet connection going long enough to talk about this one?
Yeah, I'm holding the brick that keeps it together right now, actually. You know, man, this is really gonna. It smells to me like it'll be a really tight, very close decision, and they better hope it doesn't end up in a draw because that scoring thing is gonna get shot to shit right there. Then they're gonna really have to like thumb wrestle to settle who wins. But Galvaz just faced so much world class opposition, and even though he's been coming up short lately, even though he's definitely near the end of his career, I don't know that Malagari is still like, even though he's still hanging in there, he hasn't fought the same kind of opponent. He hasn't really had the same type of performance, and his style, even though he's really crafty with his submission game and everything, I don't know that he's going to be able to actually, put on negate the kind of advantages that Galvao would normally have in a fight, like being able to avoid the jab leg kick combinations consistently and stuff like that. So I kind of think that the veteran savvy that both of these guys have is going to lead to neither one of them really getting finished. They're probably just going to do a lot of, calculated striking. I kind of got to give it to Galvao, man. I mean, again, he's shot, but again, he is the more composed striker of the two, and the fight's not really going to hit the ground unless there's some sort of weird scramble, something like that. I don't trust Malagari's takedown game, so yeah, I'm going to go with Galvao by decision.
All right, Eddie, what about you?
Vic pretty much nailed everything on the head right there. I mean, Galvao has faced better opposition, and you have to sum it up to that. Malagari, solid grappling game, really aggressive. I like it, but I don't know how well that's going to do against Galvao. I think it'll do enough to hold his own by far, but overpowering or taking over a fight with his grappling, I don't see that happening. So I gave up on Galvao back in 2009 when he got murked by Damasio Page in the WEC.
Wow,
but
damn.
I'll pick him here for just having fought better competition. # experience. Galvao by decision.
Gave up on the man. What was that? 6 years before he won the Bellator featherweight or bantamweight title.
The Affordable Care Act wasn't even a thing, was it?
Bill Warren did not tap.
Yeah, he shouldn't have yelped, and he should have defended that knee bar better. He should have.
It was a beautiful knee bar for sure. Oh, yeah. I'm not a Galvao fan.
Well, you're picking him here. He hasn't won a fight since. He's only won one fight since beating Warren there. So
LC Davis, who I would also pick over. I would pick LC Davis over Malagari probably.
All right. Yeah, it is worth noting that Malagari's recent competition is not all that great.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
All right. That brings us to the next bout on the card. We've already talked about Josh Copeland, Jack May. We've already talked about Jared Rosholt, Valdrin Istrefi. We've already talked about Nicholson Hune. That's the first bout on the main card. Apparently, all the prelim, all those prelims will be showing on Facebook. First bout on prelim or main card is Nicholson Hune. God knows why. I guess it'll be
it's going to be exciting, especially with all the potential slogs we have here.
Yeah, true.
That's going to be the one to watch.
All right, and that brings us to Timur Valiev versus Max Koga. And Eddie, what are your thoughts on that?
This ought to be fun. Valiev is a bantamweight and not a very big one, but he's here fighting at featherweight. I have to assume to just fit in with the system they have going on.
Yeah, get money, make fights.
Yes.
So he's a really creative striker, uses a lot of feints, uses his jab. I really like the way he strikes. When his opportunity for the takedown presents itself, he's all over it. He's a real solid grappler as well. Koga, it's his first fight in the USA. He's been fighting on the German regional scene, trains with Daniel Weichel. He's finished 16 of 19 wins, which is very impressive. Has a beautiful cross. His right cross is very lethal, and he kind of leans on it in the same way that Hendo leaned on his right hand, just with a lot less power. He uses that cross to close the distance, which I like, and I've seen that work against him at times. We've seen him get controlled by much worse grapplers than Valiev, I'll say. So I'll definitely take the guy with more world-class experience. And I hate to say it, but I'm picking another decision here. I'm going Valiev. But he's going to be small, and that's the only thing that concerns me about this one.
Yeah, that especially concerns me with a control-based fight. It was somebody who really wants to fight with control. It's tough to do when you're tiny. But Vic, what about you? You picking Valiev to get it done?
You know, I think that Valiev, coming from a harder sambo base and facing the kind of opponents that are more consistent. I mean, nothing against the German scene, but like, you know, even the German fighters will tell you it's not the same. It's just not, you know, and that's not to say that, you know, you won't find a couple of dudes that are just crushing cans all over Russia, but it seems to me like Valiev is still at that point where he's improving and his game is much more suited for taking on a complete, you know, just hanging in with anybody who's complete, even if he's larger. So, yeah, I got to go with Valiev on this one. I mean, he's going to be able to hang with the dude, go toe-to-toe. And this, I think, could be the sleeper fight of the night. This really could be the most exciting one.
Oh, well, at least Vic is picking it to be exciting, even if it's
a decision.
A decision.
Yeah.
All right. That brings us to the co-main event, Lance Palmer, Bekbalat Magomedov. And Vic, who you got here?
Man, Bekbalat is crafty, dude. I mean, he's really, really smooth when it comes to transitioning from one submission attempt to the next. I mean, he's really good at using his striking to get in and start, like, clinching, not just so much to go for a takedown, but to do one of those moves where he dives for a leg or he tries to, you know, twist the arm or, you know, work for headlocks. He's always active. He's always moving. But Palmer is just such a physical freak. And he's such a smart fighter, too, with that solid wrestling base and really crisp boxing that he doesn't get enough credit for. So I really think I got to give Palmer the advantage here. As long as he doesn't stay long, or as long as he minds his P's and Q's, which I think he'll be able to do quite comfortably. So I'm going to go with Lance Palmer.
All right, Eddie, what about you?
So just like Timur Valiev, Magomedov is a bantamweight. But at least he has fought heavier in the earlier stages of his career. So there's that. Palmer will still hold the size advantage here, though.
Yeah, which is bad news if you're fighting Lance Palmer, frankly.
Absolutely. Yes. But, you know, you have to also think which Lance Palmer is going to show up. You know, are we going to get the wrestling Lance Palmer? Or are we going to get the outside kickboxing Lance Palmer? Kind of how there's two forms to Phil Davis. There's kind of the same with Palmer. You know, sometimes it's like, dude, why are you waiting till late in the fight to start going for your takedowns? Like, you spent the entire first half of this fight staying on the outside, out of range, punching and kicking at air, and you wonder why you lose fucked up decisions. You know, so that's the big question. If Palmer is looking to kickbox, then I think he was going to lose a decision. If he comes out and tries to body Magomedov, then I think it'll work out in his favor. So I'm picking Lance Palmer by another damn decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he fights a bad game plan and loses this one.
All right. And that brings us finally to our main event, which, like I say, it's not really a main event. It's just kind of the last fight on this card.
No, this is giving the former WSOF champ a softball into the next round. This is basically a bye as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it does feel that way a bit. Andre Harrison, yeah, he's a legit good fighter, great, but like Bekbalat Magomedov or Max Koga would be a more fitting main event opponent than Jumabek Tuarshin.
Even Capital.
Yeah.
Throw Almeida up in there. That'd be cool.
So, all right. Eddie?
Jumabek Turzin was in the UFC. He went 0-3. But why was this booked? You know, was it the 0-3 record? Is it because he's lost 2 of his last 3? Or is it just the softball for Harrison to get him into the next round or whatever they have going on?
Yeah, I got to think they just want to bank on Harrison being there deep into this thing. And so...
Yeah. So, I mean, I have to pick Harrison here. I mean, I guess we can split hairs on whether or not he'll get the finish.
Been a while.
It's been a while since he's gotten the finish, but Turzen is finishable. We've seen him get finished in the past, but I almost get the same feeling as Des Green, Gleison Tebow here. You know, it's like Harrison. I think he could get the finish if he turns it on, but I'm afraid he won't try to turn it on until late and just not get the finish. So Harrison by another damn decision.
All right, Vic, what do you think? Is Juma Bektarshan actually bad enough that Andre Harrison might finish him? Anyway.
Whether or not he's going to get the finish, you best fucking believe he's going to get it. Look, Twister is one of those guys, and I hate to say this, but it's like he was one of those guys who was like, well, I had a couple fights in China, like 10 to 15 fights that aren't on my official record, and a bunch of them are wins. Then he gets to the UFC, and we didn't really see any evidence of that. We saw how far behind his game actually was when he was facing international competition. And although he has fought some pretty decent guys since leaving the UFC, he's fought guys that are much more closer to perhaps the level that he should have been fighting while he was in the UFC if he was to be successful. That never materialized. And what we end up with now is a guy who's going in there against Andre Harrison, who is an exceptional athlete, a very smart fighter. It's just like, what is Twister going to bring to the table here that's going to be able to, how is he going to win this fight? I don't really see any avenues for him to doing it. He's not going to stop the shots. He's not going to prevent the clinches or, be getting pushed against the cage. He has fought at featherweight before earlier in his career and had moved up after being in the UFC, where he spent those 3 fights as a bantamweight. So maybe he'll be more comfortable. Hopefully he'll be more comfortable than what he was at 135. But I just don't see it, man. His boxing isn't going to be the same. His submission game isn't really that much of a threat. So yeah, I think Harrison is going to probably TKO like near the end of the first round.
That would be a nice topper on a card that has, like, when it's going to be following up on the backs of Lance Palmer and Timur Valiev. And then, you get that Alex Nicholson, Jake Kuhn fight. And then you got, before that, Jared Rosholt and Josh Copeland and Galvao Malagari. Like, there are a lot of fights on here that have a low finishing potential. It would be nice if Harrison could really turn it on and put a dude away that, by all accounts, he should be able to dominate.
And look, the card overall isn't – it's not a bad card, although there's just a lot of potential for slogs with the heavyweight fights, which you're going to have in any fight card that's got a lot of heavyweight fights on it. Some of them could end up being really fun scraps because this is an unpredictable sport, but I'm just not holding my breath on it. Now, the featherweight fights, they should be good, and they're quality that you should definitely pay attention to. I think the card overall is worth watching for the featherweights at least.
There's a lot of very highly well-trained talent on this card, but there's also a lot of dudes that have been kind of passed over or left behind by larger organizations, given the boot, because they are good, tough athletes that are not fun to watch.
That's true. Yeah. That's exactly that is the most perfect
card. Let's put them all in one.
That's how they end up in PFL. Like, that's how you get, that's why Lance Palmer and Andre Harrison haven't been signed to the UFC like 5 years ago, because people watch them and they're like, yeah, this guy's obviously a really, really great athlete, really well trained, powerful, dominating.
But I'm not exactly.
Yeah, nobody's lining up to, like, oh man, I can't wait for that next Andre Harrison fight where he's gonna put a guy on the fence and just lean on him for a whole round and throw a few shots and just stay totally comfortable and in his zone for an entire fight.
To be quite honest, you have to say Hune versus Nicholson is the fight to watch here. Like, I'm more excited for that than anything else.
Yeah. And in that same
get thumped,
Valiev versus Kaga might be also the most fun, just because it could be because of Valiev's lack of size, it could be hard to hold him down, and that could end up being a bit more of a scramble back and forth kind of thing. So
this card, it's a Thursday card. It starts at 6 p.m. and then
on Facebook, yes, and then it goes to NBC Sports later at 9.
It's on Facebook. Wow.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it starts at 6 p.m. on Facebook. And so 3 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. on NBC Sports Net. 6 p.m. Pacific.
Gotcha. And Vic, you got a preview coming out for this on Bloody Elbow?
Yeah, there's a written preview that should be coming up shortly, and yeah, I mean, I'm now thinking back, that was a hell of a lot more optimistic than what we just did, but yeah, you can wait to see that and kind of get a little bit more of the context here. So yeah.
All right. On that note, you can find me on Twitter at TheZenTime. You can find Eddie on Twitter at TheEddieMercado. You can find Vic on Twitter at VicMRodriguez. You can find all three of us over at BloodyElbow.com, week in, week out, doing all our whatever thing. I'll be back on Friday, actually, for the UFC 225 Vivisection this week. It's coming a day late. Connor's still gone. I'm bringing Phil McKenzie on to join me for that.
Remulac, Northling, Garthok.
And so give us a like, thumbs up down there. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, MMANation.com, DOTCOM, all spelled out. That's where you get all the latest Bloody Elbow shows, videos, analysis, all that stuff we do week in, week out. And we will be back next week. I believe this UFC 225 card is actually right ahead of a 2-week break. So after that, we'll be back with the MMA Depressed Us and maybe a 6-round retro, maybe?
6-round retro. I think we're doing the first Strike Force.
All right, nice. And we'll have If I Did It and, Knuckle Up, or not Knuckle Up anymore, but Heavy Hands and all that stuff we do. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.